Why is it important whether the SEC does what it has been instructed by law to do and publishes these rules on executive pay? Let me give you a couple reasons why that is an important thing. First of all, inequality, as we all know, is reaching crisis levels in our country. The Census Bureau reports that income inequality is actually at historic levels. The chief economist at J.P. Morgan Chase, not exactly a lefty organization, has reported that U.S. labor compensation is now at a 50-year low relative to both company sales and U.S. GDP. We also have 46 million Americans living below the poverty line and millions of Americans who work full-time for highly profitable corporations are nevertheless so destitute that they depend on anti-poverty programs in order to get by. Income inequality is the highest it's been since 1928. Wages have fallen for most Americans in terms of real money over a period of decades, and income has skyrocketed for the top 1%, rising even more for the top 0.1%, and exploding even more than that for the top 0.01%. CEO pay is a major contributor to all this inequality. We need to know more about this phenomenon, which is what those SEC rules are supposed to do for us. What companies are overpaying their CEOs? How are those companies performing in the marketplace? What are they doing for society in terms of jobs? How responsibly are those companies being managed? Are they being managed for the long-term good of the company itself or for the short-term gain of the CEO and other senior executives? These are all critical questions we need answered. Another reason why we need this rule is because productivity gains in our economy are going all to the top, threatening the middle class way of life. There were 30 years when productivity gains were shared between working people and executives, and they were the best 30 years our economy ever experienced. Now, CEOs are not getting paid what they deserve, as your favorite conservative might tell you. This is a right-wing myth. They're not getting paid because the market has determined this is what they ought to get. They're getting paid because they've stacked the boards of directors of their own companies with their buddies and have paid them well in order to validate them. Now, this is not a market-driven system. This is a crony-driven system. So let's remember that. We're encouraging them to do the wrong thing, and we're encouraging them to put their cronies in place to help them do it. Now, CEOs have, as a result, increasingly behave more like stock manipulators, not like executives of working companies. If they can pump up a stock's short-term performance by buying and selling smaller companies, flipping real estate properties, or engaging in other highly leveraged transactions, most executives these days are only too eager to do so because their incentive packages encourage them to do so. That's why we have a rising inequality, stagnating wages, and fewer jobs for employees. They also, by the way, I want to conclude by saying these executive pay packages are so excessive that they're giving CEOs undue and corrupting political influence. Perhaps it goes without saying, but grossly overpaid executives are also in a position to exercise that kind of influence, especially more than ever in this post-Citizens United world. And we wonder why things aren't getting better for the rest of us. Information which the SEC is supposed to obtain will be interesting and informative, but that's not the only reason to collect it. We need to collect it so that we know what is being done to us. We need to collect it so that consumers know who and what they are supporting when they support a company with their purchases, and shareholders should be able to take more responsibility for executive pay decisions when they know more about what that executive pay is. So that's another reason to hold the SEC's feet to the fire on this. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero.